In this section, we will bake the orthographic views that we need to complete the chassis texture. This is going to be the closure for this chapter of Baking with Arnold. If you are familiar with the green screen technique, we will take advantage of this technique, especially during the bake of the front and the back orthographic views. Create a plane. In the back viewport, the plane size should be larger than the model. We will use this plane as a slicer or a background image for the rendered maps. You can change the plane's color to any color that you can remove later inside Photoshop. However, I will use full black for the slicer since it will be the background for the final texture. Move the plane to hide any geometry that you do not want to include inside the rendering. You can clone the plane to mask any additional geometry. Switch the plane color to black. Use this technique every time you need to mask details or geometry during the rendering process. That was the first technical problem we managed to overcome. The second one is, we need to bake the orthographic views with the same scale, in one single bake, if possible, or in multiple bakes. For that, we need to box the model, then wrap the box UVs with a unified scale. We will use this box to bake the required orthographic views. Add and wrap UVW modifier over the box object level. All the UVs are condensed over the map, which does not give any clue of the scale for each side of the box. We need to correct the UV scale in respective to each side of the box. Use the Flatten Mapping tool to flat and correct the scale of all the box UVs. We have corrected the scale, or the perspective, of the UVs. Now, each one of them represent one of the orthographic views. Also, we managed to distribute them with unified scale over the map. We will use this UV map to bake the required orthographic views. Next, we will try to bake all of the orthographic views in a single baking process. Convert the box to editable poly. We will need only one half of the box for the baking process. I will add another mask or slicer for the back and for other orthographic views. However, I will use only those in the front and the back. You can either use this technique to mask the unwanted details from the bake, or you can remove those details later inside Photoshop. Hide any objects that you do not need to include inside the bake. Keep in mind, masking or hiding details will accelerate the baking process. For demonstration purpose, I will spend some time to create a mask for the top middle part of the vehicle frame. Despite the fact that I will use Photoshop later to remove the unwanted details from the baked maps. You can divide the mask by any number of loops to refine their curved edges. However, I do prefer to keep those loops as low as possible. Any unmasked extra details can be removed or corrected later inside Photoshop. During the baking process, you may choose to pick these masks to hide details or not. Unfortunately, baking the entire frame with the welded box sides did not work as intended. I will create an exploded view for the box sides and redo the baking process. Here is the baking result without using the masks. Overlapping projection has occurred at the front, the back, and the top. Other orthographic views are fine. There is also an illumination problem over the baked beauty map. We will need to add physical lights to correct these dark areas. The technical problem we could expect is the light interference that may occur when adding multiple lights to the scene. Let's illustrate this concept by illuminating the scene with multiple physical lights. I will place those lights in some of the orthographic views. Afterwards, I will do a test bake. This time, I am going to include the masks into the bake. At the first look, we need to correct the light position for some orthographic views, such as the top and the back. Afterwards, we can do a single bake for all the required orthographic views. However, I do prefer to bake each orthographic view individually and use only one or two physical light for illumination, so that we could have more control over the baking process. Later, we will combine all those individual bakes inside Photoshop. Before start baking each orthographic view individually, we need to detach each side of the exploded box to a new object. There is no need to edit the UV map, since we need the new detached objects to maintain the same UV scale. Delete all the physical lights, except the one that illuminate the left side of the model. We will bake this side first. There is a specular effect happening on the baked black mask that we do not actually want. Removing that gradient effect background inside Photoshop might be so tedious. To solve this problem, we need to assign a physical material with proper settings to remove this gradient or light effect and render the mask surface full black or matte. Press M to open the material editor. After adding or cloning a physical material, change the roughness value to 1 and the glossiness to 0. Change the base and the reflection color to black and change the reflection value to 0. These are the changes that we need to do inside the physical material settings. You can disable all the special or generic maps, or leave them, it does not matter. Afterwards, assign the physical material to the masks, then redo the baking process. Here is the result. Some areas might be darker than others. You can edit the physical light properties for better illumination, or you can do this inside Photoshop. I am quite satisfied about the result, and we will decide later whether to correct these dark areas or not. This is the baking result for the bottom side, and it was perfectly rendered. To render the top side correctly, I needed to add 2 physical lights to properly illuminate the areas of interest. I decided not to use the mask to hide the unwanted areas, since I can remove them later inside Photoshop. This is the bake of the front side with the mask. Finally, this is the bake of the back side with the mask. Inside Photoshop, I already imported all the maps and grouped them in respective to their orthographic views. I have also changed the orientation of some maps in order to keep their unified scale unaltered. Whenever you need to change the scale for some of those maps, you need to do them all together. The final texture size will be 1024 by 1024 pixel. This is just a glimpse of the image editing that are required to be done. I will be doing these edits off camera and prepare the final maps for the subsequence movie.